Hello, IBON fans. So overpaying your taxes to buy an additional $5,000 of IBONs this year with your tax refund. That's what I'll be talking about in today's video. And specifically, here's what I'll cover. How the annual $5,000 IBON purchase limit via your tax refund works. The 3 ways you can overpay your taxes to do this. And the IRS form you'll need to submit with your tax refund, including a bonus savings tip about this form that many folks don't seem to be aware of. And towards the end, I'll go through some caveats you should know about when buying IBONs with your tax refund. So here's what you need to know about this annual $5,000 IBON purchase limit via your tax refund. 1. This $5,000 limit is in addition to the $10,000 annual IBON limit per Social Security number for purchases you make online via Treasury Direct. 2. This $5,000 limit is per tax return, not per Social Security number. So, if you're married filing jointly, you and your spouse combined can only purchase up to the $5,000 limit because that's just one tax return. If on the other hand, you're married but filing separately, then you can each purchase up to the $5,000 limit because that's 2 separate tax returns. 3. IBONs purchased with your tax refund will be issued in paper form and sent to you via snail mail. If you want to hold them electronically, you'll need to do a conversion via Treasury Direct. I've included the link for how to do this in the video description below if you want further detail on this. 4. If you've already filed your taxes this year without requesting that all or a part of your tax refund be used to purchase IBONs, then it's too late, unfortunately. You'll have to wait until next year to buy IBONs via your tax refund. 5. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, know that you need to have a tax refund that's big enough to cover the amount of IBONs you want to purchase via that tax refund, with the maximum allowable IBON purchase amount not to exceed $5,000 per tax return. This means that if your tax refund is $1,000, you'd only be able to buy up to $1,000 of IBONs with this tax refund. Which brings us to how you can overpay your taxes to get a refund big enough to buy up to the additional $5,000 of IBONs you'd like to buy with your tax refund, if it suits your individual financial and or tax situation. Because as we always say at Diamond NestEgg, everyone's financial journey is different. 1. Make a one-time payment via an automatic extension. Given that December has already passed, the only option to overpay your taxes now that I'm aware of is to make a one-time payment online towards last year's taxes via an automatic extension on IRS Direct Pay. And you'll need to do this before the tax filing deadline, which this year is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. And if you're thinking, but Jennifer, I don't need an extension. That's fine. You can get this automatic extension and not use it. The important thing here is not the extension itself, but rather the fact that filing for this automatic extension on IRS Direct Pay allows you to make an overpayment towards last year's taxes. And this overpayment essentially creates the tax refund that you'll be getting to buy your IBONs with, up to that $5,000 limit per tax return. And of course, do remember that we are not tax advisors, so make sure you understand your tax situation or consult with a tax advisor before progressing. So, to file this extension payment, I'll go to IRS Direct Pay. I've included the link in the description below. Now, I'll scroll down and select Make a Payment. This will take me to this screen for step 1. Under Reason for Payment, I'll select Extension. Under Apply to Payment, 4868 is the automatic extension form, so that's fine. I want to overpay for the 2022 tax year, so that's also fine. Now I'll hit Continue. This Please Confirm box pops up next. I'll check everything for accuracy and then hit Continue, which will take me to step 2 where I have to verify my identity. Here I'll enter 2021, and this green box will appear telling me that I need to enter information from my 2021 1040 tax return in the fields below. So here, I'll enter the filing status from my 2021 tax return, which was married, filed, joint return. And this box will appear telling me that I should use the primary spouse's information as shown on my 2021 tax return. If I scroll down further, this is all the other information that I'll need to fill out. Once I'm done entering everything, I'll read through this Privacy Act and Paper Reduction Act and then check off this box to accept. Then I'll hit continue, which will take me to step 3, where I have to enter my payment amount, confirm it, and then my payment date. Once I've done that, I'll scroll down and enter my bank account information, where the IRS should deduct the funds for this payment. Then I'll scroll down further and check this box because I would like to receive email confirmation notifications and I do agree to the email terms of service. I'll read through these warnings here about email and phishing schemes, then I'll hit continue. And this disclosure box will appear. I'll read through everything and then click I agree, which will take me to step 4, where I have to review and sign. I'll double check that everything is correct, then I'll scroll down and check the rest of the information down here for accuracy. And at the very bottom, I need to submit my electronic signature by filling out these fields here. Then I'll read through this debit authorization agreement by clicking on this link. And once I'm done going through everything, I'll check this box here to accept, and then I'll click on submit. And here's step 5, my confirmation screen, including my confirmation number. I've overpaid my 2022 taxes by $1,000 so that I can apply that tax refund to my IBAN purchases. And if I scroll down to the very bottom, I can print this confirmation screen out for my records. There are 4 important things to keep in mind when you overpay your taxes via this one-time extension payment on IRS Direct Pay. 1, you should have completed your tax return first, or at least have a good idea of what to expect as a tax refund. Otherwise, you won't know how much you should be overpaying, what the one-time extension payment should be if you want to buy the full $5,000 of additional IBANs available to you via your tax refund. 2, top up your extension overpayment just a little bit. Let's say that you were great with your tax withholding last year and you're only expecting a $100 refund come tax time. In theory, you could simply make a one-time extension payment on IRS Direct Pay for $4,900 to get you to the additional $5,000 of additional IBANs available to you via your tax refund. Well, instead of making that one-time extension payment of $4,900, make it a weird number, a not round number, like $4,909 instead. That way, when you see the $9 deposited into your bank account, you'll know that the IRS has processed your refund and that the remaining $5,000 of your tax refund will be used to purchase IBANs and that you should be receiving those IBANs soon via snail mail. According to the IRS, your IBANs are ordered after the IRS completes processing of your tax return. And once ordered, it may take up to 3 weeks for your savings bonds to arrive in the mail. I also wanted to share an interesting piece of anecdotal evidence from some of the super savers in our community. And that's that this one-time extension payment should be made in whole dollar amounts. So for example, $4,909 and not $4,909.25. It appears that in quite a few instances, when the one-time extension payment amount included dollars and cents rather than just whole dollar amounts, that the IRS made adjustments that led to the full refund being deposited into the taxpayer's bank account rather than being used to purchase additional IBANs in the taxpayer's name. So try sticking with whole dollar amounts when making your one-time extension payment to be on the safe side. 3, file your taxes a week or 2 after you make your one-time extension payment to ensure that the IRS has actually received this one-time extension payment request. 4, remember to report this one-time extension payment on your tax return. This one's pretty self-explanatory. So, now that December's over and the tax filing deadline is not quite here yet at the time of this taping, Making a one-time payment via an automatic extension on IRS Direct Pay is the first way of overpaying your taxes to buy up to an additional $5,000 of I-bonds with your tax refund. If you plan ahead, though, there are two other ways to overpay your taxes to buy up to an additional $5,000 of I-bonds, depending on your situation. Say, for example, that you already know now in the first quarter of 2023 that you want to overpay your taxes this year so that you can buy up to an additional $5,000 of I-bonds via your tax refund when you file your 2023 taxes in 2024, so next year. Well, here's what you could do in 2023. Make an extra payment on your estimated taxes for the fourth quarter of 2023. To do this, you would typically need to be self-employed and paying estimated taxes. 3. Increase your tax withholding with your employer. This option is for those of you who are neither self-employed nor paying estimated taxes. By increasing your tax withholding with your employer, you're basically paying a bit more taxes with every paycheck, so that come tax time, you'll get a refund that you can then make your I-bond purchase with. The difficulty here is figuring out how much you'd have to increase your tax withholding by to get you exactly to, or perhaps just close to, the refund amount that you'll want at tax time to purchase your additional I-bonds with. Right, so that was overpaying your taxes so that you can use your tax refund to purchase up to an additional $5,000 of I-bonds. Once you've done that, and you're ready to file your tax return, you'll need to submit an extra IRS form along with that return, stating who you're buying those additional I-bonds for and how much. Here's IRS Form Quadruple 8, allocation of refund, including savings bond purchases, that needs to be completed. Part 1 is where I'll enter my bank account information. So let's pretend that Marcus and I have a tax refund of $5,555 for 2023. I put $555 up here in 1A, and here I'll enter the bank routing number and account number of where I want this $555 in cash deposited. And I'll make sure to keep all these numbers as whole dollar amounts, so just dollars, no cents. Don't want to do anything that may encourage the IRS to make an adjustment and risk my I-bond purchase request not going through properly. And if I scroll down, I can see that part 2 is where I'll enter the information about who I want to buy I-bonds for with my tax refund and how much. If Marcus and I want to buy I-bonds just for the two of us, I'd put the remaining $5,000 from my tax refund here in 4. But let's say that I want to use the $5,000 to buy I-bonds for our 4 kids instead. In this case, I put $2,505A and 2 of my children's names here, and $2,506A and my other 2 children's names here, keeping in mind that these I-bonds can only be purchased in increments of $50. Do also take note of this caution message here, telling us that if a name is entered in 5C or 6C below, so here and here, co-ownership will be assumed unless the beneficiary box is checked. These are the beneficiary boxes. I'll leave them unchecked in this example because I don't want one child to be the co-owner and the other to be the beneficiary. I want all our kids to be co-owners on these I-bonds. Part 3, I'll leave blank because I don't want a paper check. Plus, there's nothing left over at this point in this example of a $5,555 tax refund for me and Marcus. And in part 4, I'll add up all the lines detailed here. This total must equal the refund amount shown on my tax return, which in this example should be $5,555. Remember that this Form Quadruple 8, I'll need to submit it with my tax return so that the IRS knows how much of my tax refund it should send to my bank account versus use to buy additional I-bonds with. So here's the bonus savings tip about this form that quite a few folks don't seem to be aware of and that I promised you a bit earlier. Not only can you use Form Quadruple 8 to use all or part of your refund to buy up to $5,000 of additional IBANs per tax return, you can also use this form to allocate all or a part of your refund to an IRA, HSA, brokerage account, or other similar account. And you can do this in Part 1 here. So instead of depositing all or a part of your refund into your bank account here, you just enter here the details to your IRA, HSA, brokerage, or other similar account. Be sure to confirm the routing number, account number, and checking versus savings account categorization beforehand to avoid any errors. Pages 2, 3, and 4 of Form Quadruple 8 will have more information on how to complete this form in its entirety. I've included the IRS link to Form Quadruple 8 in the video description below for your reference. And in the event that you have more questions about using your income tax refund to save by buying U.S. savings bonds, I've also linked this page in the video description below. Hopefully, it will answer most of the questions you might still have on buying additional IBANs via your tax refund. Now, I'm curious, are you planning on buying IBANs with your tax refund this year? Drop a comment below and let me and the other super savers know. And in the event that you do decide to buy additional IBANs with your tax refund, here are some caveats you should be aware of. 1, it doesn't always work. What can I say? This was the feedback I received from quite a few super savers in the community last year who were expecting to receive IBANs as part of their tax refund, but instead found much to their surprise that their full tax refund was deposited into their bank account, so no IBANs in this case. There generally did not seem to be a definitive reason for why things didn't work out, but if this does happen to you, know that unfortunately it appears there's nothing that can be done after the fact. You can't call the IRS, send back part of the tax refund that's already in your bank account, and have them send you IBANs instead. It seems you just have to wait and try again next year. 2, if it works, you will get whatever IBAN rate is prevailing at the time the IRS finishes processing your return. So if the IRS processes your return before the end of April, you'll get the current annualized IBAN rate of 6.89%. If the IRS processes your return between May and the end of October, you'll get whatever the May 2023 IBAN rate will be. And if the IRS, for whatever reason, processes your return in or after November, you'll get whatever the November 2023 IBAN rate will be. You get the picture. 3, you'll get the additional IBANs via your tax refund in random denominations and not always at the same time. So say that everything works out and you do get your $5,000 of additional IBANs via your tax refund. Well, you won't necessarily get one $5,000 paper IBAN. You might get some $50 paper ones, some $100 paper ones, and then other paper ones in different denominations. And you may get some one week, some the next week, and some even later. Don't ask me why. I've actually never bought IBANs with my tax refund until this year. But this is what other super savers in the community have shared with me and what the Treasury Direct representative told me. And the Treasury Direct representative, he also didn't know why either. Now, if you have bought additional IBANs via your tax refund in the past, or you have more insights and or tips on this topic to share with others like yourself who are looking to do the same, please do drop a comment below. For those of you who've asked the question, make sure to check out this video here on paying taxes on IBAN interest annually versus at redemption. Again, do keep in mind that we're not tax advisors, nor do we plan on buying IBANs at this point with our tax refund beyond what's needed to make these educational videos for you. So do consult with your tax professional or tax service that you use, if you use one, to see what works best for you and your individual situation. And if you're doing your own taxes, remember that all the resources from this video are linked in the description below. As always, Super Saver, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. And if you did, don't forget to share it with those you care about and to hit that thumbs up and See you again very soon with another brand new wealth building video.